Hello everyone and welcome to the supplemental video for section 2.5 of your homework. The first part of this is going to be, very fairly straightforward. The second part can look a little confusing at first, and I would recommend probably watching these videos more than once to begin to make some sense of this. But this one's not going to be a long one comparatively speaking. So let's go and take a look at the first problem. They're telling us that when you sub in certain values in, they want us to find the missing piece or the missing value that we don't know. Take in case here the value of a equals b times h when a is equal to 24 and h is equal to 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to write out that a formula. A equals the base times the height. And we're told that a is equal to 24 and that h is equal to 4. Therefore, we don't know the value of b. Well, if we don't know the value of b and we know what this is, I can go ahead and just rewrite this now. Let me put some paper down here for that. I can write this as 24, not b times 4. That doesn't look very good, but we'll write it as 4b. And then if we go ahead and just divide by 4, we're going to get b is going to equal 6. And that's all we're going to have for that one. So the answer to question 1 is going to be 6. Well, let's take a look now at question 2, how we do for this one. Looks a little complicated, and that pesky fraction is there. So let's just start off by looking at this problem. Maybe we can even get rid of that fraction. How about that? So we have a is equal to 1/2 h times b plus b. And this looks like a formula, I believe, for finding the area of a trapezoid, if I'm not mistaken. And it gives us a bunch of values to put into here. It gives us a, gives us big B, little b, but doesn't give us h. So one thing we can do is, well, let's just go ahead and see what we can find for this, shall we? And let's see what kind of sense we can make of this. So we're given a is 54, so we're going to have 54 is equal to 1/2 h times big B is going to be 4, and then little b is going to be 5. Alright, now one thing I am going to try to do first, and this isn't going to be real friendly here, but what I'm going to try to do is just let's see if we can simplify this. So we're going to have 54 is equal to 1/2 h times 9. Well, I still don't like that 1/2 there. And hopefully everyone is okay with the problem up to this point. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to multiply both sides by, multiply both sides by 2 over 1. Because 2 times 54 will give me 108. And then 2 times this 1/2 here, these will just at this point disappear. It's going to give me h times 9. Or if I were to rewrite this a little differently, it would give me 108 equals 9h. Then if I divide both sides by 9, I should get that h is going to equal 12. And that's going to be the final answer I'm looking for that problem. I don't think I'll give you anything quite that bad on the test, but it is something you see in your homework, so be prepared for it. Okay. So substitute the given values into the formula. This is the formula for the circumference of a circle, and the formula is going to be c is equal to 2 pi r, and then it tells us that c is equal to 78.5. So the other thing they give you in the problem is that 3.14, to use that as an approximation for pi, it's not an exact value, it's an approximation. So if we put in 78.5 into this, we put in 2, we replace pi with 3.14, and this is going to be just r, so we have to find what the radius is. So because of the decimals here, this is where a calculator really comes in handy. So if I were to try to simplify this by multiplying this out, I would have 78.5 equals 6.28 times r. And then to carry this out, to a certain level of accuracy, it says round to 1 decimal place. I would divide both sides by 6.28. And if I take my calculator here, hold on, 78.5 divided by 6.28. You notice that I get for a calculation here, I get 12.5. which looks to be a pretty decent answer. So my radius is going to be 12.5. No running necessary for that problem there. I hope people kind of understood that. Last question, which looks really kind of ugly because it has like a fraction and has an exponent, kind of unusual numbers with this too. Okay, as I'm going to show what it looks like directly with all the substitutions. This says v equals 1 over 3 times pi times r squared times h. So I'm going to just put everything in. It wants us to figure out what h is. So v is going to equal 1 over 3 times 3.14 times 4 squared times h. So, oh, by the way, the volume of this is one thing I forgot to put in. 267.9. 267. So let me write that again here, okay? So, get another piece of paper out. So, I'm going to write this as 267.9 equals 1 over 3 times 3.14 times 4 squared times h. So if you don't like those calculations at all, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to do that by hand. What do you got to do? You do it on your calculator. And here's how it's done. So here's a little calculator lesson. 1 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 4 squared. Enter that in, and you're going to get an answer. And I just say the nearest 2 decimal places is going to be fine. That's going to give us enough answer. So this would be like 64.7475. So it would be 16.75. So 267.9 is going to equal 16.75 each. So you don't have to do this in your head. Please, by all means, get a calculator. That's why they're required for class. So if I divide both sides by 16.75, divide both sides by 16.75, okay, and I'm going to do that on my calculator now. I'm going to take 267.9 divided by 16.75. That's going to equal, it says here, 15.99. So I'm going to say for all intents and purposes, I really think they're going after h equaling 16. It's probably the magic number that they're looking for there. Okay. So it says do not round the final answer, then round the, do not round until the final answer, then round to the nearest tenth as needed. So if it wants to the nearest tenth, you make it 16 for this, but you may have to show the answer as being 16.0. So just be ready. You may get 16, but be ready to show the answer as 16.0. So that's how to do the kind of plug and chug. The last part of this is going to be how we get a variable by itself. So the last part of this is going to be how we get a variable alone. And that's going to look a little different because we have a bunch of variables, and these variables, they just aren't going to go away. So let's see how that's done. So first, we're given the following expression. F is equal to 4 times g times h. Now, the multiplication symbols aren't there, but they're implied to be there, as we've talked about what it is to be implied in class. We want to get the variable h by itself, meaning I want to get h alone. Since we have 4 and g joining h by multiplication, we need to separate them in the opposite way. We need to separate them by division. So we're going to divide both sides by 4g. 4's cancel, g's cancel, and it's just going to be f divided by 4g equaling h. So that's going to lead to f divided by 4g equaling h. And that's the answer that I'm looking for in that question, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at the next few problems we have here. I think this is the last 3 problems of this section. We want to solve for y. So if we have the equation v equals y ps, again, the y, the p, and the s are all joined by multiplication. So if I want to get y alone, I divide by what's multiplying it. That's going to be ps. That gets rid of it over here, giving me y equals v divided by ps. Here on this equation now, as we're taking an equation with a couple different variables, it says to solve the equation for y. Now, there's a couple ways we'll do this. So we have 4x plus y equals 7. Now, what's a little different about this, compared with the previous two questions, is nothing is multiplying y. 4x is on the opposite side. So if you want to do this kind of cleanly, you could just rewrite this as y equals 7 minus 4x. How did I do that? I took the 4x, moved over here, and that's it. We're done. Nothing further is needed. Let's take a look at 8 though, as 8 is going to be a little more complicated. So it says here, solve the formula for the specified variable. And that's going to be a equals p plus PRT, and we're going to solve this for r. So let's go ahead and write this. And it's r we're going to try to get by itself here. So notice here that there's some things going on. It's not just the p, not just the t that's multiplying it, but we also have a p on this side. What can we do with the p? We can just put it to the other side. So we can go ahead and write this as a minus p equals PRT. Remember, when I move something from one side to the other, I apply the additive inverse property to be able to do that. Now, if I want to get r alone, I have a p and a t multiplying it, so I'm going to get a p and a little t to divide. So when I divide that out, these cancel, leaving me with r alone, giving me that r is equal to a minus p over p times t. So my final answer is going to be a minus p over p times t is equal to r. And that's going to be our final answer for question 8. Let's go ahead and take a look at these last few questions that you've got coming up for homework. So it wants us to solve this formula for the specified variable. So our formula is d equals 1 over 3 fk. And we're supposed to get f by itself. So again, we're seeing something here that contains a fraction. Nothing being added on each side of the equal sign. Everything's being multiplied. So I can just multiply both sides of this by 3 over 1. If I do that, 3 times d gives me 3d. The 3 and 1 and 3 just cancel, leaving me with fk. If I'm supposed to solve this for f, and f is being multiplied by k, let me put this up here. All I have to do is just divide by k, and it's going to be 3d divided by k is going to equal f. And that is the equation solved in terms of f for question 9. Okay, for those that are practitioners of my equation solving technique, you're going to like this one. If p is equal to c plus a plus b, well, nothing is multiplying c. C is all alone pretty much. You have a positive a and a positive b. Well, if you take a and b and move it to the opposite side to get c by itself, all you're going to get is p minus a minus b is equal to c. And we're done. Finally, in the last question, let's see what they ask here. A certain species of fish requires 1.5 cubic feet of water per fish to maintain a healthy environment. Find the maximum number of fish you could put in a tank measuring 5 feet by 4 feet by 3 feet. So what they're not telling you in this question is, how do you find the volume of a tank? So the volume is going to equal the length times the width times the height. And we can say that the 5 feet is equal to length. We can say that the 4 feet is equal to the width, and that the 3 feet is equal to the height. So we're going to go ahead and put that into here. So the volume of the tank is going to equal 5 times 4 times 3, and that's going to give us 60 cubic feet. Okay. Now, what this is saying is that each fish requires 1.5 cubic feet of water to basically kind of live comfortably in the tank with the other fish. If there are 60 feet, if it's 60 cubic feet, how many fish can we get in? And oftentimes the question is, do we take this number and do we multiply by 1.5 or do we divide by 1.5? And the answer to that is we're going to divide by 1.5. So now to get the final answer to this, we're going to go ahead and take this work. Let me do this over here actually. We're going to take 60 and we're going to divide this by 1.5. And if we take 16 divided by 1.5, that's going to equal 40. So it's going to be 40 fish that get to live happily in a tank of that size. That concludes our video for section 2.5. I will be reporting videos for sections 2.6 and 2.8 on a Wednesday. Thank you.